and welcome back to the Mystery Theory. Today's episode is number 5 in the soft-spoken series of the Watts family murders. Today we're going to talk about Chris's confession as of March 2019, and he gave the details, the timeline, and everything that the FBI and CBI wanted to know to kind of piece things together, because there wasn't enough physical evidence to come up with a timeline because of how the bodies were found. So, if you want to listen to his confession, as I mentioned yesterday, you can go and check it out with enhanced sound in Amber Loves Mystery. However, if you were my friend and I was going to tell you this information, I would also tell you that unless you're going to be spending 4 hours doing something while you listen to this, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't sit down and listen to the whole thing just as my main activity. Yes, it will give you a better idea on the tactics that the police, in this case the FBI and CBI, use in order to get things out of Chris. It will give you a better idea on how Chris's demeanor changed. But truth be told, if you sit down and you just listen to this video for 4 hours, it's gonna leave you empty. It's gonna leave you sad because of the details that he shared. There's a lot of things that he said that were already said, and I feel like it's kind of repeating some information. So just a warning, if you were my friend and you really were interested in listening to those 4 hours, I would do something. Clean the house, do laundry, work in the garden. I don't know. Do it on the way home, home, the drive home. I don't know. It's just one of those things that if you invest so much of yourself in it, it will leave you, I think for most people, if not sad about the whole thing, but empty. Regardless, it's your choice, and I'm just gonna bring to you today the basics, the most important things that he revealed, and at the end, my own theory after we go through some of the most popular ones. Now, the confession started with the FBI assuring that they were not going to change anything as far as his sentence or anything if he shared that information with them. And they wouldn't put any more charges. I mean, this wasn't going to affect him. In the confession, Chris kind of goes through that day, or specifically when Shanann got home, he kind of elaborated on that. He said that Shanann got home that Sunday at 1:48 a.m. They had an argument, got over the argument, then they were intimate, and they went to sleep. He then got up at 4 a.m. to go to work, and at around 4:30, they got into the same argument that they had before they went to bed. According to Chris, he told her that he didn't love her anymore, and Shanann told Chris that she knew that he was unfaithful and he was cheating on her, and that she was going to make sure that he wouldn't see the kids again. According to Chris, he got so mad that he jumped on top of her and strangled her. He also said that he couldn't stop because he was being taken over by something else. It almost seemed like he was referring at some kind of a possession, because he didn't want to do it, and there was a part in him that was there witnessing what the other part of him was doing. But he couldn't stop himself. When they asked him, what was Shanann doing? He said, she didn't fight. He also said that that was the time that it was when it got on. Almost like he's referring to a different person taking over him. That's what I'm assuming. When it got on means to him. I don't know if he refers to some kind of a demonic possession, spirit kind, but he keeps referring to this part or this time as the time when it got on and he physically couldn't stop himself. Now at that point, according to Chris, Bella got inside the room and asked, "What's wrong with Mommy?" And Chris told Bella, "Mommy doesn't feel good. She's sick. We have to take her to the doctor." Now, the investigator asked him, did she get in the bedroom because she heard something? And Chris responded, "Obviously, I think." Which kind of leads you to believe that it wasn't as quiet as Chris referred to that moment of Shanann not fighting for her life. So he either refers to the moment before where they were arguing and Bella heard that, or he really is not telling the truth as far as Shanann fighting, which, by the way, it doesn't really show that she fought, maybe because he restrained her in a way. But I always had this idea that maybe she was sleeping and he, kind of got her off guard. I don't know. But he said that she was awake and she didn't fight. He then said that he wrapped Shanann's body in a sheet because he couldn't look at her, and that was the sheet that was later on found in the site where he dumped the bodies. He said that he carried her downstairs, backed up his truck, and put Shanann in the backseat floor. Then went back into the house, grabbed the girls with no car seat, and put them in the back seat by Shanann. The girls asked him several times, "Is Mommy okay? Is she okay?" And Chris told them she will be fine. The girls slept on and off on the way to the oil site that Chris was supposed to go to that day. And when they got there, he removed Shanann's body, put her down, and went back to the truck. I have to say that a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you here were not only said during that confession, but they were implied in that confession and shared also by Shanann's family, because this information was given to them too. So he might have not said, everything with his own words, but the investigators would ask him, So then you did this, and he would say yes. And then you did that, and he would say yes. And so, just in case that you're a little bit confused, there were a lot of things that he didn't say, but that the FBI and CBI were smart enough to kind of get it out of him. Now, at this point, he walked inside he went again to the truck after putting Shanann's body on the floor. He grabbed Cece's favorite blanket that she was carrying, and he smothered her in front of Bella. I'm going to come back to this at the end. He dropped Celeste inside the oil well tank that was there. So he had to climb through that ladder to the small opening of 8 inches, got up there, and came back for Bella. When he came back to the truck, Bella asked, "What happened to Cece?" "You're not going to do that to me, Dad, right?" And her last words, according to Chris, was, "No, Daddy." He doesn't remember if he said yes, as a horrible person would do. That's what he said. Or if he didn't, and he can't remember. But then he smothered Bella too, the same way that he did to Cece. But Bella did fight, and there's evidence of that. She fought a lot for her life. Now, there was this special show on Dr. Phil, who, by the way, I personally think that he went a bit too far in this case. I'll express my opinions at the end, but in the interview, her mom said that at the time they haven't had that gender reveal party, so they weren't sure if it was going to be a boy or a girl. Most people didn't. They were going to have a party on Thursday, but remember, as I mentioned in the first episode, they were having problems and they were struggling in their relationship, so Shanann put that party on hold. Chris, later on, he said that the baby was dead by the time that he killed Shanann. I have no idea how he figured that, but he said that, and he also said that the baby wasn't his. And according to Shanann's mom, her name is Sandy, she said that they gave permission to run the tests to make sure that the baby was alive at the time that he killed Shanann, and also a paternity test to confirm that in fact Nico was his child. Going back to the Dr. Phil's thing, I found it very sad that he asked some of the questions I wouldn't ask. Like, he asked the mom, "Do you ask yourself what were they thinking right before they died?" She said something like they were probably thinking about Mama, Papa, and Uncle Frankie. I thought that was very cruel. What's done, it's done. Whoever is responsible is paying for it. That's not going to bring them back and stirring the pot like he did in this case, like Dr. Phil did in this case. I think it was cruel. I'm sorry. A lot of people love the guy. I think he's a very smart guy, but because he's really smart, he also knows what sells, and I thought that little piece of answer that she gave kind of made it more interesting for his program, but really, really cruel, in my opinion. The videos that they share throughout the program are heartbreaking, and if you're gonna watch because you haven't, I'm gonna tell you, you probably will need some tissues, and it's emotional. And it gives you that sense of this shouldn't have happened, you know? You listen to Shanann and she's cooking or she's sharing things. She's talking live on Facebook with her friends and coworkers and people in her team. And you're like, well, she's there. She's alive. She is like any other girl her age, having a family. But then you remember what happened to her, and when I give you the details, it really will break your heart. The mom at the time mentioned, again in the same Dr. Phil special, that she had an experience with Shanann the day that she was informed that they disappeared. She said that she went to bed crying and praying that night, and eventually she fell asleep. The next morning, the police calls her and tells her that they found Shanann's body, which she offered to identify over the phone. And according to the mom, she asked if she was beautiful and if she had black hair. And then when they answered yes to both of them, she said, "That's my daughter." I am not gonna dwell on that because I don't think anybody in this world deserves to go through that. Nobody. No mother would have to go through that horrible moment. That night, she mentions feeling the presence of her daughter. She said, "I love you, Mommy, and I'm sorry." She also said that she was at peace, and the mom fell asleep in that peace that gave her the presence of her daughter. The next morning, she wakes up and gets out. She got a call from Colorado again saying that they found her granddaughter and that they were not sure which one. She describes Bella as slim and tall, and she mentioned something about her hair. But come to find out that because of all the oil, it was impossible to tell about her hair. So the police asked who is the one that uses a pull-up, and Sandy said that would be Cece. Then we have Cece, they said. They kept looking, and 2 hours later, she gets a second call telling her that they found Bella. Bella was at the bottom of the drum, and while they were trying to pull her out, her skin was falling off. She thanked people that were there because after witnessing this traumatic event, they had to get therapy to try to help them after that horrible sight. Sandy, Shanann's mom, said that she felt the girls afterwards. That night she first saw Cece and then Bella. It was so emotional to try to watch her explain how she had that small conversation with her granddaughters, and later on she saw Shanann again with the baby, Nico. that she said that she looked at him and looked like Frankie, her son. Now I know a lot of people say that it's probably their grieving heart that are going to see things that really are not there. But I have my grandma, most of you know about her. She had a stroke last November. She's still in the hospital since then. But she lost her youngest daughter, so my aunt. She was about 40 something years old when she died. And my grandma had a similar vision of my aunt when she died. My grandma was depressed. I mean, nothing would take her out of that sadness. I remember in that night when she had that visit from my aunt, she described it that way. She just moved forward. I mean, she couldn't move on. But the next day, everything changed. She felt better. She felt like it was okay to keep living even though she lost her little girl. I know myself. I have a child that it's in heaven. Didn't get a chance to be born, but I know I had a period of time where I was very traumatized by it. And I remember having this vivid dream where I saw this baby in a crib in my bedroom as a child with the cutest bald head, just a few strands of hair and hazel eyes like my husband. I didn't see anything but a baby playing and laughing and giggling. Inside, it was already standing up, kind of grabbing into the crib. And I remember having that dream, and I remember getting better. So is that a trick that your mind plays on you when you lose somebody? I don't know. I like to think that it's something else. So for those of you who do not believe that, Shanann's mom had this visit, more power to you. But I think if that quote-unquote visit made her feel better, made her feel like it was over, they were not suffering anymore, then I think it's a good thing. And I'm not going to be one of those people to sit and judge and call her names or criticize her for believing that she had a visit from her daughter and granddaughters and even grandson. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks for the people that can't understand that it's possible for them. But I find it very interesting that if it was a lie, that if she didn't really see them, why would she go on national TV and say it for people to call her crazy? Call it whatever you want. Maybe a coping mechanism. Call it a visit from the afterlife. Call it a comforting thought. But I thought that was something that helped her at the time. And that showed her that there is hope. They're at peace. Even though they can't be with them right now. Now, I'm going to go back to the day when Chris drove the girls and Shanann to his job. Remember we were talking about that? He said that when he put the girls in the vehicle, he didn't know what he was going to do with them. Some people speculated that he put the girls inside the truck while he was going to go get rid of the body. so he wouldn't leave the girls alone. Some other people speculated that he knew what he was doing and he wanted to get rid of the girls. Some other people say, well, no, he could have done it in his house and he was going to take a risk by doing it out of the house in the open in his job, where he couldn't be maybe a camera or something. You know what I mean? He said that when he put the girls in the vehicle, he just wanted to get rid of the body, but maybe at that time he thought, well, the girls saw Shanann dead. I'm going to get rid of her body. This will never look like an accident. And now the girls know who did it. So he claims that he didn't know when he put the girls in the truck what he was going to do with them. He also says, I don't know why I left all the evidence there in the open for the police to find it. And again he said, it was like something took over me and didn't care what would happen to me when they did find that evidence. Almost like if it was really him trying to do that, he would have been a little bit more careful to try to get away with it. But since this took over him, he just didn't care about the true Chris that lived in the same body. It's kind of an interesting thought. The mom doesn't think, Sandy, Shanann's mom, she doesn't think that he snapped. But at the same time, she says quite a few things that sound very contradicting. She said that she believes that he hid his darkness for all these years. But then she said, he used to be a good guy. And then Frankie, Shanann's brother, said, but cheating changed him, changed his mind. Somebody manipulated him to get rid of his responsibilities. Maybe it was the amount of sex or porn that he was doing and using at the time. Of course, the family believes that he could have divorced. That would have been the obvious answer to his problem. But they believe that he chose to get rid of them. They said that they never believed that Shanann was in danger, even though they knew that they were struggling. The mom said he was too nice of a guy to do that damage. So which one is it? Was he such a great guy and such a great manipulator that nobody knew his true self? Or is this evidence that he was a great guy? That evidence that something made him snap? Maybe something did take over him? The family said that when they he started giving interviews, his demeanor, his crossed arms, how calm he was. He wasn't concerned. He didn't look concerned or sad or desperate like any father would feel, or has been for that matter, that his family's missing. The family said at the time that it was clear that he did something. And that was the point that they couldn't believe in him anymore. Shanann's family also said that they knew that she wouldn't leave. He did something to them. The medicine wouldn't have been left behind. That was way too important to Shanann. The money, the SUV, the keys, the house locked from the inside. It just pointed to something really bad. Which, for some people, it kind of makes sense. That he initially didn't want to kill the girls. But because Bella heard and went to the room, that was a problem. She could say something and that would incriminate him. Now that Bella's not here, Cece's not here, Shanann is not here, what are we basing ourselves? What do we know that happened that night? We know what Chris knows or shares, because more than likely he's not sharing everything 100%. So, a family that considered Chris a son, like Shanann's family, now they're learning that who they consider a son or a brother for Frankie killed their family in the most horrible way, putting Shanann in a fetal position with her face down in the dirt, putting the girls inside these oil tanks where they were basically breaking down inside as they were pulling them out. Just to make things worse, when they tried to fly them to North Carolina to get them buried there, where their family's from, they couldn't fly them because they were in crude oil for 4 days. That is flammable, so they can't fly with it. Now, they couldn't cremate them either, because if they tried, they could set the entire building on fire, according to Shanann's mom. I mean, they had to get bigger caskets and seal it with tape, something kind of, so to try to contain the gases. I mean, it's one thing to lose your daughter, your sister, your nieces, your granddaughter that is pregnant, but it's a whole different thing when you can't even think about how you're going to put to rest those bodies. Chris kept saying during the interview that being a dad was the best part of his life, and he was responsible himself for taking it all away from him. He can't understand what happened to him. He said that he couldn't fight back whatever was possessing him to do what he didn't want to do. Prince said that he would have been okay, that Shanann would have been okay without him, that she would have survived money-wise, and he could have signed the custody away. But he chose not to do it, and instead getting rid of them so he could move on with his life. Which I'm going to make a little parenthesis here just to say that doesn't make sense either. Yes, that is something that will be incriminating in a court of law. But how is getting rid of your family going to free you to move on to a new life with your new girlfriend? It wasn't going to work. He did a sloppy job hiding the bodies. He did a sloppy job at killing his family. He had nothing ready or prepared or premeditated about the way that he was going to do it. If that thought crossed his mind, I am sure that if you're a psychopath, you will have your ducks in a row before you even think about committing something horrible like this. So, this is for me, okay? For me, it doesn't make sense that he killed them because he wanted to start a new life with the new girlfriend. Is it possible? Yes, he probably did want to divorce Shanann and move on with Nicole. maybe he was in love. Maybe Nicole was brainwashing him, manipulating him into getting away from his family. Is it possible? Most definitely. But I think that any smart guy, or not even a smart guy, but any person that plans to do something like this, I think in the back of their mind they know that they will get caught. When they asked the family about Nicole, they asked Shanann family, they said that she was probably the reason why he did it. That she maybe manipulated him into trying to find a solution for them to start a new life. It's just crazy to know that there is so much out there incriminating Nicole because of the way that she, I don't know if testified or when she went to talk to the police, and there are so many recordings. I think there's a lot of people that believe that she was in it and that it's not fair that she's getting help to change her name and start a new life. I think that we have people in law enforcement, in the FBI, CBI in this case, smart enough to know when somebody's implicated or not. I think that we would have learned some inconsistencies as far as evidence, but there's nothing. There's no physical evidence. There is nothing in her phone that would point to the direction of her participating or even knowing about what Chris did. If we're gonna blame mistresses, blame them for what they are, for breaking a marriage, for messing with a married man. Maybe those things are okay to you. Maybe those things in your book are just perfectly normal. And so again, this will come down to your beliefs and your morals and your view in this kind of things. But being a bad person doesn't make you a killer. I think that if this was planned with Nicole, we would have seen a lot more evidence as far as text messages, maybe even social media messages, but everything that they found, they released it. It does make her look bad, but I don't think they had anything that would implicate her or make her aware that he was planning to do something like that. Think about you being a mistress. That's a weird position, isn't it? But think about it. You tell your husband, no, not your husband. You tell this guy that you're dating, that he's married. Oh my goodness, I'm so in love with you. I wish we could get married and have 1,000,000 kids and move to Indonesia. I don't know. A fairy tale thing for you. And then you just kind of, push the guy, because you really hope that if he's having such a shitty marriage, he would leave his wife, And maybe you're doing it with the intentions, with the selfish intentions of keeping the guy for yourself, right? But then the guy does this, He ended up killing his family, and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't mean go kill your family so we can move to Indonesia together and have 1,000,000 kids. You got it all wrong. I didn't know I was dating a murderer. Do you know what I mean? If every single mistress in this world will tell her boyfriend, quote unquote boyfriend, married men, you tell them, leave your wife, come with me. And if every single husband would go and kill his family, well, we would be in a lot more trouble, don't you think? Because even if she was pushing him to get out of this relationship with Shanann, that didn't mean, hey, go get rid of them. at least there's no evidence that she said those things. So yeah, maybe she was a master manipulator. But ultimately, the one that held those blankets to the faces of his own girls was Chris. He had about 3 and 6 minutes to snap out of it and not kill them. He chose not to. Because he was possessed, because he was out of himself, because of his he snapped, whatever it was. But he is the one responsible for them not being here today. As far as Chris's family, in the interview that they did with Dr. Phil, Shanann's brother said that he went to pick up a few things from the house and that Chris's dad asked him to bring Chris's jerseys and trophies from elementary school, but nothing from the grandkids. Shanann's family said that they were very thankful that the dad went while Chris was being interrogated because they believe that Chris confessed because his dad was there. They also said that social media is doing crazy things for Shanann's family. In case you were wondering what happened to their house and their belongings, where Shanann's family donated most of it. They kept things from the girls and Shanann. But 90% of the house was donated to different institutions. Frankie, Shanann's sister, it was said on social media that he committed suicide. He's alive and well. He said that he was being intimidated and he got a lot of death threats. And that they're a little bit disappointed to see so much evil in this world. Now, watching this Dr. Phil special kind of, I don't know, like irked me a little bit. I found the last questions very unnecessary. Why? You start wondering these things. Why didn't I see it coming? Why didn't I protect my sister, my daughter, my nieces, my granddaughter? I mean, what the heck, Dr. Phil? Don't you think that these people asked that themselves already? Okay, maybe it sounds nice. Maybe you'll get a little bit more people watching this show, but it's cruel. It's cruel and it's not okay. It's not okay. Listen, this was a guy who has been a good husband and a good father, a good guy. People loved Chris for his entire life. Nobody has anything bad to say about him, but when he started cheating and when he started wanting the divorce and, started to have trouble with Shanann, and not even then, Shanann's family suspected him to do anything crazy like this. So no, Dr. Phil, they're not going to be asking themselves, why didn't I see it coming? Well, it's hard to see evil coming. It's very hard. It's easy to get scared of the unknown. You go out one night, you have to walk through a dark alley, and the guy that's walking, to the opposite direction, you look at him and you get a little bit scared because you don't know the guy. What is he doing in a dark alley? Well, what are you doing in a dark alley? Do you know what I mean? It's easy. It's very, very, very easy to be scared of the unknown. But how can this family be scared of a guy that's being nothing but nice? Nothing but good. How could they see it coming? Well, we mentioned already that the prosecution believes that it was premeditated. We went through the reasons yesterday. Shanann's family believed that he didn't snap. He planned the whole thing because he planned to move on with Nicole. What do I think? I truly believe that he snapped. And I truly believe that it was a series of events that led to that moment. We know that he asked that if he was going to be alone that Friday. Well, it could mean a lot of things. Maybe he planned to see Nicole. Maybe he planned to do something with her. Just making sure that he would do his job and go back and do something with Nicole. Maybe get off there and go to her apartment before going back to the main office. That means a lot of things, that he asked that over the weekend. You're sneaking around. Hey, have you ever sneaked around? I have. I know that. Not because, of course, I was with my husband when he was my boyfriend. Not that I would do it while I was married, but you know what I'm saying. I remember sneaking around, and I remember finding the perfect time to meet with my husband, boyfriend at the time. I would find every opportunity that I could when I was sneaking around because my parents wouldn't want me to date. Okay? So maybe he did want to be alone, but for other reasons. The doll with the sheet on top that he sent that picture to Shannon. Maybe that meant that subconsciously he knew that he was capable of doing it. And maybe he didn't see it because, listen, he then strangled his wife and covered it with a sheet. How? I mean, that's not a very genius move. They're going to go through the pictures and the police is going to see it. And then if they find your wife that was strangled with a sheet around her, well, it kind of points to the idea that everything was premeditated. So what are you trying to do here? I think that it was a series of events that gave him I don't know, that changed him, and maybe not consciously but subconsciously he started to believe that he could do it, that he could do something about it. And this is gonna sound really, really bad, but I can't sit here and lie to you. But I do believe him when he said that something took over him. But I do believe that even when something takes over you, you have the power to fight it, and maybe he didn't want to. Either because he was having some kind of psychotic event, spiritual possession, a demonic possession, a different personality because he has multiple ones. I believe that you can be possessed by something like that. That psychotic event, maybe a double personality, maybe something more evil, like a demonic thing. I believe that's likely. But I also believe that you have the power to choose, because at the end, no matter how much you have the urge, or you have that feeling, or you see yourself acting in a way, there's always something you can do about it to stop yourself from continuing. Have you ever thought about buying an expensive car? And then you have the credit, you have everything, and you go and you think, well, I'm gonna get this car. And then once you get there, you start thinking and you're like, well, if I buy this car, that's not gonna be smart, because I'll probably will have to cut the budget for other things. And I like to eat wings on Tuesdays, so that wouldn't be an option. I probably won't be able to go to the movies every Tuesday for $5 too. So I don't So is this a really expensive car worth it? And that is a silly example, but think about it. If he, at the time that he felt the urge to do what he did, if he was strong enough to fight it, maybe he would have started to think, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I'm gonna kill her and then what? Go to jail? What? I'm a genius. I can't do that. You know what I mean? Kind of the same questions that you ask with the car example that I gave you before. It's kind of the same questions that you would ask yourself before committing something like that. Maybe it's not possible, but I've heard many cases of people that believe that they were being possessed either by a neurotic episode or a demonic thing or even a different personality. I know of people that stop themselves from doing something really stupid because they were strong enough to realize that that was not the solution for their problems. And even if it was being possessed by something, who cares? He did it. I am sorry, but that's how the world works. If you do it, you have to pay for it. They did more than enough different, tests and things to see if psychologically it could have been something. Yeah, no, he snapped. And maybe that's the definition of he snapped. He felt something that took over him and made a horrible choice that would affect the Chris that everyone knew. So I don't know. Yeah. He kind of excused himself by saying that he didn't do it on purpose, that he knew that he couldn't stop himself. But I think that it would really take you quite some time, don't you think? I mean, from the time that he strangled Shanann and then put the girls in the car, wouldn't you have snapped out of it? You snapped. But then wouldn't you have snapped out of it by the time that you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I'm gonna call the police on myself because I'm an idiot. I just killed my wife. What was I thinking? Am I gonna bury her here? What is wrong with me? Those were just some of the questions that he could have asked himself. But did this episode last as long as he killed the girls, or did it last longer? Did he do something else that we have no idea about? Was it the other, I don't know, spirit or the other personality taking over when he gave the interviews and he looked so calm and collected? See, those are the things that really don't make sense. I like to believe that he was taken over by something. Maybe his subconscious, maybe his other personality, who cares? I think that's what it was. That's why nobody see it coming. But my question is, for how long was he in this trance? Really? I mean, okay, let's say 4 a.m. or 4:30 until 7 that he made it to work, or a bit before 7, and that he had enough time to hide the bodies and act completely normal by the time that his co-workers came by. I don't know. That's my thing. Even though I like to believe that he did snap, I wonder if, probably need to do some research on that, but I wonder how long those episodes last for people that do experience them and kill during them, during those times. So to close this video, I think I already talked about Nicole and her part in all this, but I think we just have to let it go. I almost feel sorry for Nicole because now she'll be known as, that mistress that made the guy kill his family for her. That is a title that nobody deserves. If she was in it, if she planned the whole thing, well, yes, more than likely you deserve to have that title on you. But if, according to the police, there's no evidence that she had any kind of involvement, and then the guy went bananas and killed his family, it's all on him, don't you think? I know this is not a popular thing. I know we like to find people responsible for the responsible people, that it's already paying for this. I get it. I am just saying that in my head, it doesn't make sense. I can sit here and listen to somebody brainwashing me that I should do this and I should do that. But in the end, I'm my own person and I'm going to make my decisions. And even though your advice could have some impact on me and the decisions that I will make, if I commit a crime, then that's on me. I thought it was a good idea, so I did it. What the heck? What are we going to start to do? If we file bankruptcy, we're going to start blaming it on the people that entice you to get credit, to buy a house, to buy a car. It's their fault? Well, you were influenced by them, but that doesn't mean that they put a gun to your head and say, you need to buy this house and this better car. It means that you took their advice and made your own decision, right? I know I did a bunch of examples and I've tried to explain myself in way too many ways that maybe you don't even care about. But I know that my loyal subscribers do really appreciate when I explained why I think the way I think in different cases and why I'm not quote unquote roasting. That was a comment that I got recently, that I was not roasting Nicole. Sorry, maybe it's a new thing, the roasting thing. I'm not such a cool person anymore, I guess. But how can I do that? How can I judge her when somebody else is the one that actually did it? When there's absolutely no evidence that she even mentioned the idea to the guy. How can I think that Chris premeditated the whole thing when he had a double life and he was hiding more than one thing? So he could have been trying to get his time alone there for other things. It almost feels like everything was so rushed and so sloppy that if he premeditated all that, he didn't do a good job. Now he is serving, I think, 5 life sentences. I don't remember. I think I told you last time. So he's not going to see the light of day. And I'm sure he had a very good time talking to the investigators for over 5 hours. He has nobody to talk to. According to Shanann's family, they believe that he confessed this time because he said the truth, because he found God and he's a changed man, which I'm glad that they feel that way. I really am glad that they feel that way, even though their lives have been destroyed for the details that he shared there. Was it necessary to know all the details? I don't think so. Truth be told, I think that's why I dragged the idea of making this video for so long. I don't know if people need to know the way that they found the bodies. Gosh, I know I didn't have to. But I guess it's part of us. It's part of learning the behavior, the weird and incredibly disturbed behavior of these people. And sometimes I find it very funny that people say it's disrespectful to share true crime stories in an ASMR way. And I find ASMR a different way of listening to the news. Some people like to read them online. Some other people like the newspaper. Some others listen to the radio. And some others like to listen to ASMR. So they can still learn about these horrible things, but in a different environment where they feel safe, where they feel secure, and at the same time are learning something really disturbing that's still going on. So thank you for being here. Thank you for understanding. And I know this is super, super long, but I'll see you guys back on Sunday for a podcast. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. I missed last Sunday. I have to do an update video soon. Okay. Thanks for being there. Bye, guys.